Let's talk about the HTML DOM. The HTML DOM defines a standard way for accessing and manipulating HTML documents. The DOM presents an HTML document as a tree structure. So what is the DOM? Well, it's a standard object model for HTML. It's also a programming interface for HTML. It is platform and language independent, and it's also a W3 standard. As you look at the DOM and you think about what in the HTML document is a node, the DOM really says that the entire document is a document node, and every HTML element is an element node. The text in the HTML elements are text nodes, and every HTML attribute is an attribute node. Comments are also comment nodes. So let's look at an example of what that means. I mean, if that's what the DOM says in terms of nodes, we got to look at that and figure out what that means. So I'm going to go ahead and open a text editor. I'm going to make my display a little bit larger so you can actually see it. And let's go ahead and build something out. Let's start with HTML. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a head. And inside the head, we'll do a title. And we'll name this title, I don't know, my title. Close out the head. Let's go ahead and start with a body. And inside the body, let's do a div. ID equals quote container. And inside the container, let's do a div ID equals header. We should probably close out those divs. So /div. And let's create a couple of IDs. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and put about 4 of them in there. We'll do a header, a nav, a content piece, and a footer. And we'll close out our main div. For the container, we'll close out our body. And close out our HTML. Okay, so there we have kind of a basic HTML document. So let's look at how this document is structured. So the root node in the HTML document that we're looking at is HTML. All other nodes in the document are contained inside that. So you have HTML down to HTML, and everything else is contained inside of that. Next thing we want to look at is the HTML node really has 2 child nodes, head and body. So those are our 2 child nodes. The head node holds the title. So we have a title node that's inside the head. The body holds a number of things. It holds a container, and the container node holds the header, nav, content, and footer nodes. Now if I were to add some additional content into this, let's go ahead and add some other kinds of nodes into this, or elements. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in a p tag. And inside the p tag, I'm going to add this whole sentence will have a 16 px font size. So let's finish structuring that out and add some other elements, like is that an emphasis and then a closing emphasis. Let's add an href So href equals quote, and we'll just link it to nothing for right now, and then a /a at the end of that. All right, so now what did we just add? So now, in addition to this container having the header, nav, content, and footer nodes, we also have a p node that holds an M and an anchor tag, or an anchor node within that. So the P holds the M and the A nodes as well inside of that. Now, what does a document like this look like visually? I've got a copy of that. I'm going to go ahead and bring up on the screen, and we'll go ahead and look at that. So if we eliminated the P tag elements on our document, this is what it looks like. So we have the HTML as your root node. We have head and body as our child nodes. And inside the head node, we have a title node. Inside the container node, inside the body node, we have a container. And inside the container, we have header, nav, content, and footer. And I just added some other nodes to demonstrate inheritance in just one moment. So I'll just kind of leave that up on the side, and we'll go ahead and look at that. Now, I just brought up a new term, inheritance. What is inheritance as it relates to this whole process? Inheritance is the process by which properties are passed from parent to child elements, even though those elements have not been explicitly defined by other means. Certain properties are inherited automatically, as the name implies. A child element will take on the characteristics of its parent with regard to these properties. So in our example, we're going to play with some of this. We're going to pass some properties. If a div element had, if we actually defined our body up here of having a font size of, say, 16 pixels, then that body would actually pass that font size all the way through all of the other elements or nodes within that. So it passes that on. If that doesn't do that, if it doesn't pass it on, then you're going to get all kinds of funny font examples inside of these node relationships that don't work. So that's kind of how inheritance works, is you can pass on characteristics through parent and child relationships.